Hello, and welcome back to the television show.
Tea time television was never supposed to feel like this. ITV, early evening, the whole house settling down. And then that theme, sharp, uneasy, holding the moment just a bit too long. You didn't need monsters or special effects, just the quiet certainty that something serious was about to unfold. Armchair Thriller looked like a respectable drama, the sort of thing you'd expect to accompany a cup of tea, but its stories had a stillness, a coldness, a feeling that danger could slip into the room as easily as someone turning a door handle. The title came from ITV's long-running anthology umbrella, Armchair Theatre, a name that suggested reliability, craft, and grown-up storytelling. Armchair Thriller, launched in 1978, kept that same air of respectability. It drew on established writers, Antonia Fraser, Anthony Price, Andrew Taylor, and in theory presented straight crime and mystery fiction. But the effect was different. Shown twice weekly in the early evening, the stories often felt far more intense than the time of broadcast suggested. Nothing supernatural, nothing showy, just the tension of ordinary people caught in dangerous circumstances, presented with a seriousness that felt almost out of place before the watershed. The format was simple, a new story every few weeks told over several half-hour episodes. ITV companies had been making anthology dramas for decades, but Armchair Thriller arrived near the end of that era, when the form still carried weight. Its look was distinctive. Like much ITV drama of the time, it used videotape for interiors and film for exteriors, a combination that gave the stories a grainy, almost documentary edge. The houses, the pavements, the offices all felt familiar. The danger felt possible, and because each serial stood alone, the programme could switch gears, one story edged towards espionage, another towards psychological tension, another towards domestic crime. The tone stayed the same, controlled, thoughtful, and always grounded in the plausible. The series wasn't lavishly funded, and that restraint shaped its personality. Sets were often sparse, bare corridors, quiet stairwells, and dimly lit rooms, spaces that looked ordinary until the camera lingered a second too long. Performances carried the weight with pacing that let a silence do as much as any line of dialogue. Most memorable of all were the cliffhangers.
My bell. They won't let me talk to you. Sister, do calm down. She killed her. She wanted her dead, so she killed her. Who? Mother Ancilla, of course. Mother Ancilla killed Sister Miriam.
For many viewers, the most persistent memory is Quiet as a Nun, adapted from Antonia Fraser's novel. It remains the serial most often associated with the programme. The storyline is entirely grounded, an investigation into the death of a nun, but one scene in particular, set in the tower, became one of those rare television moments that people still talk about decades later. Its power came from suggestion, not spectacle, a carefully framed shot, a shadow, a figure that may or may not be there. Other stories had their own impact. Rachel in Danger, adapted from the 1967 novel, followed a young girl unknowingly stepping into an adult world of conspiracy, and Dying Day, from the Anthony Price novel, brought espionage into the texture of everyday surroundings, quiet offices, unremarkable streets, people whose intentions were never quite clear. None of the serials relied on the supernatural. The tension came from recognisable settings and threats that felt uncomfortably real. Part of Armchair Thriller's identity lay in its contradictions. It had a comforting title, yet delivered stories that tightened the mood of the living room. It was mainstream, yet behaved like something more specialised. And it arrived at a moment when anthology drama was still trusted to carry serious adult storytelling, even at an hour when younger viewers might still be awake and listening from the hallway. The programme didn't try to shock, it tried to involve, and it trusted the audience to follow stories that unfolded patiently, one half hour at a time. An Armchair Thriller isn't usually filed under cult television. It wasn't eccentric or outlandish. In many ways, it was entirely respectable, but it gave early evening ITV a tone that felt unusually tense, unusually adult. And for the people who watched it at the time, there remains a faint memory of dread, not in the flamboyant sense, but the quiet sort, the kind that settles in the corners of ordinary rooms. A reminder of the years when British television could be both familiar and unsettling, all within the space of a family's front room. And thank you very much for watching this episode of the television show. I have plenty more on the channel if you want to explore, see if there's anything that you remember or hadn't heard of and would like to find out about. All this stuff is usually available via DVD, YouTube, Talking Pictures TV, or just you can find it in many places. Just keep your eye out. There's a lot there. If you find something that I haven't done, let me know, because I might possibly want to do it. Other than that, I'll be back next time with something else that I haven't even thought about yet. I do these on the fly. If you want to like and subscribe, do so. If you don't, do not do so. There is no pressure, but it does help me out a lot, actually. Gets more people to see these shows. So if you're interested in getting more people to see these shows, like and subscribe or share. That's brilliant. But you don't have to do any of that if you don't really feel like it. I'm just waffling now, so I'm going to stop. Bye.